Let us proceed to the next meeting agenda. We have the prepared speech. For the first prepared speech, we have the icebreaker prepared by Postmaster of Izzati. Let us invite the evaluator, Lawrence, to briefly explain what the speech is all about.
A great pleasure evening to fellow Toastmasters and esteemed guests. Today, our member, Dr. Izzati, is embarking on a new pathway and delivering her first speech. From this particular project, she's going to introduce herself to the club and learn the basic structure of a public speech. As an evaluator, I endeavor to give her an effective evaluation of her speech and delivery style. I look forward to hearing from you, Dr. Izzati, and back to you, Toastmasters of the evening.
For our speaker now, who has navigated both ups and downs in the world of academia and currently active as a part of the Please welcome Dr. Izzati to the stage.
Good evening, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters. Actually, some of the happiest days of my life were when I woke up 2 a.m., 3 a.m., working on my research papers while talking to my friends on Discord and Twitter Spaces. Basically, multitasking while I was working on my research papers for my PhD. And when I tell some people this, that these were actually some of the greatest, happiest times of my life, some of them give me very strange looks. They're like, "Are you okay? Do you have permanent head damage from your PhD?" You know, when they said that to me, they were trying to be funny because PhD stands for permanent head damage. It was like, "Ah, you're so funny." I was just trying to be funny. Right? So a few days ago, I had a Raya open house, and I invited some of you, fellow Toastmasters of UK. Thank you for that. And I invited one of my former supervisors, Professor Amin, and I was so delighted that he came because I've been inviting him for so many years, and it's the first time he came to my open house. So he arrived as guest, and he was like, for a professor, he was a bit awkward. And then I asked him, "Well, I'm so glad you can make it, Prof." And then he said this to me very bluntly. He said, "This is the first open raya I've been through this whole shower for a few years." I was like, "Wow, is it because I'm your favorite student? Why haven't you visited all the other houses?" He's like, and then he just said to me bluntly, he said, "Because us academics were very socially awkward, so I didn't come to the other houses." I was like, okay. And then, like, with that awkward position that he's in, he told me that because academics are socially awkward. So I sort of processed what he was saying when he said that to me while sitting down, because this was a label that I internalized inside me for many years while I was while I was a PhD student. I have heard that comment a lot, that academics are socially awkward, we are in our own tower, like ivory tower of academia, we don't know how to relate to people, we don't know how to relate to books. I've heard it so many times. I actually started believing in it. So last year, I think I unconsciously internalized it. I got kind of tired, so I broke away from my usual route, and that's when I went down the path of content creation, becoming a content creator. Since I also like to write poetry, right? So that's when I broke away from it and become a content creator. So now in my speech, I'm going to elaborate about my journey as a content creator who writes poetry on Instagram and Threads on social media. Okay, moving on to my speech. Right? So what I mean by a content creator is that I write a lot of poetry, and I write poetry on social media platforms like Instagram and Threads. I think Threads is where it took off, my poetry gained a lot of visibility on the threads. And it changed who I am because through my poetry on threads was when I got to connect with really influential people that I admire. There are three turning points on my content creator journey that changed who I was, and it changed who I am and how I view myself, right? So I was writing some poetry on threads, and then there is this lawyer in Malaysia who I really admire. He has around 56K followers on Instagram. And then I was writing poetry, and then he wrote me a message. He said, I really admire your work. I want to succeed in my PhD and poetry just like you. Then I was looking at his social media profile. I was like, he has 156K followers. All these celebrities following. He's following me and talking to me. And I was like, yeah, I was like, I reacted in a very funny way. Because I wasn't used to it. So at that time, I was telling people, oh, this famous lawyer, he likes my work and he follows me. I was being a geek, basically. And then the other turning point, this was an even bigger turning point, right? There was this British actor that I admired since year 2021. Like, I used to watch him on a TV series in UK. I used to watch him for hours and hours, right? And then through my poetry on Threads and Instagram, he actually told me that he didn't just say you are talented. He told me that you have a lot of talent and a lot of good things to offer to this world. And he wove those words very carefully and very eloquently. That I was very starstruck at that time. I was like, wow, my favorite actor said that to me. Just because I write poetry on Threads, I was like still in shock that that happened. I still am, even today. I still am. And then we become very close. He became my support system. And then the third turning point, ironically, I connected with someone else who's a distinguished academic. He has 2 PhDs. I only have 1 PhD. He has 2 PhDs. So I was like, wow. And then he told me he's going to go for a third one. So and then he has a book on water stones. So he's also an author. And I also admire him. He actually texted me before I made my wedding. He said, "You're a very accomplished and smart person. You can do this." So all these my heroes, right? They were basically praising me. And at one point, I let it get to my head. I was like, can you imagine, like, for a few years, I saw myself as some kind of nerd, like living in a tower of academia, I was socially awkward. And suddenly I felt like I was a famous influencer, but I wasn't. I was just a person who connected with other famous people, but I felt like I was a famous influencer. It's like my ego was so big at the time. It was bigger than Mount Everest, right? I know some of you like to go hiking with Kinabalu, but if you hike there at that time, even my ego was even bigger. It's like I was like letting it all get to my head. I was like, wow, my favorite actor says that I'm talented. I must be a big deal no matter what other people tell me. So I was on a huge ego boost for a while. But then I got brought back to reality again. Someone said to me, well, even if you're a content creator, you will have no future because it's not as structured as academia, and influencers are very out of touch with reality. That's what they told me. But I'm telling you, from my experience as a content creator, actually there is a lot of intellectual labor as well, because I had to put myself out there and seize on the opportunities that are out there. And I still miss academia even when I was, even if I work as a content creator. So the key message for today is that we are more than what the one-dimensional stereotypes and boxes that are imposed on us. I'm more than just a socially awkward academic, and I'm more than just an oblivious influencer. I can be both and more. So that's my key message for my speech. And thank you for listening.